Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. How you guys doing? Make sure you like and subscribe. Consider becoming a member to the channel. Yo, women's boxing, man, is great. They have great athletes. They really do. They deserve a lot of respect. They don't deserve all the drama that's surrounding them right now. And I do agree with Crawford when we spoke. Controversy helps. But what's going on right now, I don't think it's really helping the sport. That's why with this thumbnail, matter of fact, let's do this. That's why I did this thumbnail this way. Is women's boxing being ruined? Is Big GWOAT being targeted? Are all the women affected? And female fighters unfairly affected by the drama? Because what you have right now, some people are saying that GWOAT's innocent. Others are saying, hey, it's the content creators are wrong. Then others say, no, it's Alycia. So let's have a conversation about it, okay? Because the current drama surrounding Claressa Shields and AB, and even Laila Ali, her name still keeps getting brought into it. And she has done nothing wrong, in my opinion. It's become bigger than simple boxing trash talk. At this point, many fans believe women's boxing is going through, I would say, an identity crisis in real time. I say what we're seeing happening is historical in real time. Like, I don't know if people see it this way. I say it during my lives. We're part of history. Those of us who are talking about this and are putting out content, we're being part of history. What's happening right now is historical. And I'm not saying it's good, I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm telling you it's historical. The stuff going on right now is going to be talked about years from now. And I don't think people realize that. Because you just take a look, man, what started online, I think just as tension and personality clashes, even though, you've seen Claressa face-to-face with a couple people before and having disagreements on things and getting a bit chippy. Not just her, other people too. Alycia Baumgardner, Cyborg. But the clashes have now evolved into legal threats, serious fan divide, social media warfare, talking about complexions and shit like that, questions about professionalism, and the thing that interests me the most is major discussions about the future image of women's boxing itself. And to be quite frank, the reality is fans are completely divided on who is truly to blame. And I think that's a fair statement because I'm listening to people. And it's not just my lives or the videos, it's the people who communicate with me on a daily basis on these social media platforms. I am telling you fans are divided. Now, as far as Claressa Shields, she said she's the algorithm. She was going to own the internet, and she has become the algorithm. Everyone talks about her. Everyone. Every day there are new content creators popping up talking about her. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are regurgitating the same information. But it doesn't matter. If 10 people put out the same thing, more than likely people will go look at all 10 content creators' videos. But I'm going to say this. Claressa understands attention better than almost any fighter in boxing today. That's why she's always gaining the attention of everyone, even casual fans now. People all over the 7 continents know who Claressa Shields is. And again, I'm not saying it's for the right reasons. I'm just telling you they know who she is. So whether fans love her or hate her, she has figured out how to dominate conversation cycles. Many fans believe Claressa intentionally transformed herself into the algorithm because she realized something important. I believe she's done all this intentionally. And you say, well, why you say that, Hood? Because I just remember her talking about how Jake Paul, this is a while ago where I should find the clip and play it, but I'm paraphrasing now. Basically talked about the importance of the internet and social media and how you can use it to grow your brand. So that being said, I remember when she said that and I was like, I wonder what she's going to do now. And then to see what's happening, I'm like, shit. So obviously she took some of his advice, and then with her situation with Papoose and all that shit, they said, hey, we need to figure out a way to hit grand slams and get all the attention on you. Well, okay, y'all figured it out, but it's not the kind of attention that grew her profile and put more money in her pocket. At least most of us don't see it that way. Because the attention alone doesn't always equate to currency, and the talent alone doesn't guarantee attention. Because Claressa wasn't like this before, and she had all that talent, and she still does as a fighter. For years, man, Shields openly complained that her accomplishments, undisputed championships, the gold medals, historic achievements, didn't receive the same mainstream promotion as the male fighters, but smaller resumes. So according to supporters, Claressa adapted. She became louder. They're saying that's her right, freedom of speech. She can say what she wants. She can conduct herself as a professional, as a buffoon, or whatever she chooses to do. Claressa can do it. She's more confrontational because she can do it. She can be aggressive out in public because y'all are misunderstanding her. She's locked into the villain role like Floyd Mayweather. She's more active online because she's making money on social media and she's trying to create that presence and keep growing her profile. And she wants to create headlines because she knows these are the things that she needs to do. So from a pure visibility standpoint, it kind of worked, right? She is now the talk of the town. People who never discussed women's boxing before are now constantly talking about Claressa, women's boxing. And understand, when I say Claressa, they associate her as women's boxing. And that's not fair. Now, fans who defend Claressa believe she's judged differently. They believe she's targeted unfairly. Now, I'll say this. A major section of boxing fans believe that Big GWOAT is being unfairly targeted for behavior that male fighters have displayed for decades. It keeps coming up. As of recently, somebody talked about Charlo and Plant. Then they talk about Mayweather. They talk about Mike Tyson. You know what I mean? Someone brought up Larry Holmes. How he jumped off the car and shit against Berbick. Talking about Roberto Duran, how he would spit on people. They're like, so why are people judging Claressa? Now, those arguments to me are just fucking ludicrous. But again, people are right to have the right to feel how they feel. I'm not going to tell anyone they're wrong. I'll disagree with you. It's like you can't tell me I'm wrong. It's an opinion. But supporters point to the male fighters throughout boxing history who insulted opponents, screamed at press conferences, created public feuds, like Riddick Bowe when he two-pieced, I forgot his name, but he two-pieced his ass, right? They talk about male fighters who acted aggressively online and even now who wanted to embrace the villain role. But many of those men were celebrated, and I got to be fair, as entertaining, passionate, competitive, or great for boxing. But I'm going to tell you this, a lot of them, they had a likable quality. But at the same time, I hear the fans. They say when Claressa displays similar energy, it would feel like the reaction becomes far harsher. It's not fair, Hood. I'm like, okay. Now, to a lot of those fans, from listening to him, Claressa represents a woman refusing to shrink herself to make people comfortable. You're either going to accept her for who she is or just leave her alone. But she has no right to be targeted for everyone to come down on her. This is what people are telling me. And I listen to, not everybody, these are the ones who support Claressa. Right? And they argue that, y'all just misunderstand her confidence and interpret her assertiveness differently because she's a woman operating a combat sport historically dominated by men. And if she was a man, it wouldn't be an issue. A man goes up and snaps another man, y'all will be cheering. Y'all will be out here excited. But she does it. Now all of a sudden, she's the villain. She's the bad person. Hell, some fans even believe Claressa's aggression comes from years of feeling overlooked despite her accomplishments. Others say, it's more than that. The way she's conducting herself, you got to go back to when she was a child to understand her upbringing. And that's why she conducts herself the way she is now. She needs help. So psychologically, a lot of people see a fighter who constantly feels she must force the world to acknowledge her greatness. And some feel she's going about it the right way. Others feel she's not. Now, I'll tell you this. There are some fans who blame Alycia and Laila. They feel they escalated things. Now, again, I'm just telling you what some people are telling me. You know what I'm saying? The supporters of Claressa, because they've been hitting me up like crazy. And I filtered through a lot of it, because a lot of it just, I don't even entertain the bullshit. But I will tell you, the ones who speak somewhat sensibly, I'll look at it and I'm like, all right. Now, I don't agree with a lot of it, but it's like, it's worth talking about. Now, supporters of Claressa often argue that fighters like Alycia Baumgardner and Laila contributed to the hostility by publicly engaging with her, dismissing her or challenging her credibility. Now, regarding Alycia, fans point out that Alycia talks trash too. She ain't innocent. She embraces social media theatrics and clearly understands the entertainment side of boxing. And I hear what they're saying. But so some Claressa supporters, right, they believe Alycia can't fully separate herself from the drama culture surrounding women's boxing right now, because she is using the internet to grow her profile the same way as Claressa. So why is everyone looking at Alycia as a victim and not Claressa? Even though Alycia was slapped, it doesn't matter. She's out here, man, talking trash and being confrontational, and she threatened to whip Claressa's ass. And when I hear people say this, I just listen. Y'all know I just listen. It don't mean I agree with you. Don't mean I disagree with you. I just listen. But I'll tell everybody here right now, Alycia ain't deserve to get slapped. Just like Claressa doesn't deserve for anyone to put their hands on her. So anybody out here who disagrees with that, well, good luck to you. Nobody deserves to have anyone put their hands on them. And no one deserves to be bullied either, I'll tell you that. Because the only way you stop bullies is when you confront them. And sometimes things got to get a bit catastrophic because some people won't stop. And I understand that. But I'm not saying I agree with that either. But for Laila, I definitely don't agree with none of that. You know what I'm saying? I think it's her legendary name and distance from active competition that frustrates Claressa, because Claressa wants acknowledgement from figures she views as benefiting from opportunities women fighters before her didn't fully create alone. And Claressa just wants to be a payday. That's what I think. I think that's what fuels Claressa Shields' aggression towards Laila Ali. Is in her mind, somehow she feels disrespected or excluded from conversations involving all-time greatness. And Laila, when they talk about all-time greatness, the face of women's boxing, everybody comes to Laila Ali. But let me not say everybody, I'll say the majority. They think Laila Ali, professionalism, beautiful, intelligence, could fight, knockouts. Just across the board, they see Laila Ali as the perfect fighter and the picture-perfect representative for women's boxing. But when it comes to Claressa, many fans believe she's gone way too far. Way, way too far. And she's in too deep, and the damage is irreparable, and she's thrown away her legacy and her career. She's destroyed her brand. No one's targeted her. She put herself out there as the target. And she took shots at people, at innocent children, at innocent fans, at content creators, at fighters, at promotional companies. She sat out here, had the weapon off safety on full blast, and she was just out here, man, like a Gatling gun, just shooting up and riddling everybody. Because she did what she had to do with all of this unnecessary hostility to go viral. And they feel that her behavior has crossed from competitive promotion into obsession with just getting her name out there. And they say that is the primary reason they feel she went out there and she slapped Alycia, because she said, okay, I need to keep pushing this competitive promotion into obsession and to some more hostility now, because she's been thinking about hitting her, get some get a little bit of hostility in the mix now, and this would definitely help. Now, I'm gonna tell you this. This shit, man, about crossing from just really trying to promote herself with that competitive energy and this thing of being hostile towards people, that to me is a very bad move. Okay, so she's made herself a target, in my opinion. I do know there are some people out here who they don't know, they just jump on the bandwagon and just want to kick a person when they're down. But if you're talking about people who've been following Claressa, like I have once she turned pro, and understand where she started from and where she is now, trust me, people like me didn't just decide to come out here and talk about Claressa Shields. The stuff she was doing, it got my attention because I'm like, whoa, what the hell's happening here? This isn't, what happened to the person from yesterday? And like right now, I'm talking about what happened to the person from a year and a half ago. Especially when we talk about with her and Laila Ali. That's what really popped things off for many people. They just can't understand what the hell, even though she tried to say, nah, Laila said this about me and on the Breakfast Club. People, let me tell you something. If I talk to 100 people, 90 of them are going to agree that Laila didn't say anything. She wasn't trying to disrespect Claressa. But there is that 10% who feel like, oh yeah, she knew what she was doing. But the funny thing is Laila had already spoken to her off camera, long before she did that interview about how she feels there's just no one out there for her, no competition for her. So that was a conversation they had. So when she went on the Breakfast Club talking, Laila wasn't thinking about Claressa Shields. But the bottom line is, many fans genuinely do not understand why Claressa continues discussing Laila so frequently. When Laila herself, she just seems to be distant from the whole situation. She just doesn't care. You know what I'm saying? You got a person out here keeps talking about you and you don't even acknowledge them. That means that motherfucker's obsessed with you. That means they're miserable as fuck. That's why Laila said out here, she ain't thinking about none of this shit. She out here doing big things. But you got this one person there and their team that keep wanting to talk about it. Looking stupid. So to critics, it creates a perception that Claressa's chasing validation or a mega payday, clicks and views, or trying to force relevance through some kind of conflict which she ain't getting. And she'll never get because, to be honest with you, she's beneath Laila Ali. Because Laila's a professional. And she got more to lose. And she ain't got time for the bullshit. And that's just how I see it. I also hear when the fans, they outright describe Claressa as obsessed with Laila because they feel the rivalry exists far more strongly and really solely with Claressa's and those public comments than Laila's actions. So psychologically, it hurts Claressa's image because it can make confidence appear insecure rather than dominant. And I agree with that. You got somebody that's out here talking about somebody every opportunity they get. That's not confidence. That's insecurity. So the Claressa, to me, her and her team need to let that shit go. Because it don't make him look dominant, make him look stupid. Let's let that shit go. Now, Alycia Baumgardner, now that situation changed the tone completely because her and Claressa been going back and forth for a while. And the tension involving AB changed everything because many fans feel the situation crossed beyond normal trash talk. A large portion of fans support Alycia, but they also acknowledge, that's one thing I noticed, a lot of them acknowledge. She participates in the drama hood. She talks aggressively herself. She understands social media promotion. She ain't too far from Claressa hood. I'm like, I hear you. But they still believe nothing Alycia did justified the physical escalation or assault, the assault that took place. And Claressa put her hands on her, so that's assault, right? That's not an opinion. That's assault. But Alycia did say, and I'll beat your ass here, but I'm not here to get into who's right and who's wrong. The bottom line is there was a verbal conflict. But there's a major difference between trash talk and taking things into physical or legal territory. That's why now we're all sitting here watching. And we feel like Alicia's behavior has never matched the intensity or volatility associated with some of Claressa's recent public moments. And I'll say, I agree with that. Alycia talking trash and everything, Remember, I'm not saying she's right or she's wrong, but what I will say, it doesn't match the intensity of volatility with the way Clarissa's been acting. I'll tell you that much. Now, I'm watching for this lawsuit. Everybody talking about lawsuits. Claressa gonna sue MVP, Netflix, Alycia, Claressa. I mean not Claressa. Clarissa's going to sue Alycia and her team. The bottom line is, all this talks about possibility of legal action is ridiculous. Everyone's involved. And then Claressa has discussed suing. Like, I saw when she was talking about that, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I'm like, you got MVP talking about suing. Netflix, that name's getting thrown out there. Now, this is just what I'm hearing. Now, I don't know if Netflix is getting involved, but I do have some people, some secret squirrel people that's like, you got people who are there at that event who are going to be making some moves. I trust what these people tell me, but the bottom line is, these are rumors. Let's just keep it that way. Rumors that MVP may be involved with the legal action. Netflix could be involved. Alycia could be doing something. And then Claressa announced that she plans on doing something. But this changes the conversation from entertainment to business risk, if you ask me. Because when you get lawsuits that enter the picture, people get the fuck away from you. You start talking about lawsuits, people step away. So sponsors become nervous. And if in fact Netflix has nothing to do and they're not getting involved at all with no kind of lawsuits, but if they hear this, they could become cautious. Like, we ain't touching nothing. If lawsuits are going to be flying with people, we'll just wait till that shit resolves itself, and then we can pick up and we can get back to business. But, people get nervous. People get cautious. Promoters become protective. People start to get quiet. And then collaborations become damn near impossible. Because the reality is, it looks like, just from listening to different people talk, like, there still may have been a chance of maybe Claressa working with MVP down the road. That just, for me, listening to Nikisa talk, it almost seems like there still could have been a chance somewhere down the road. You know what I mean? But that's why when Claressa told me the stuff about fighting on Netflix, like when I interviewed her, I should play that piece for you, but she actually spoke on some of this. Yes, she did. Because I asked her about it. And, she touched on it. But I didn't understand why she was saying that. All doors are still open. I didn't understand that. But now I'm understanding what she may have been implying. But the bottom line is, when you got sponsors who become nervous, networks, and then collaboration becoming complicated, that shit directly impacts the entire women's boxing ecosystem. And it's unfair because you got the big names who overshadow the sport, casting a kind of dark cloud over it. And all the women who are involved in boxing, no matter how professional they try to be and disciplined, it affects them, man. So what we're witnessing may come from pressure attached to being one of the few recognizable faces in women's boxing. And there's a lot of pressure. And it creates emotional extremes. Women's boxing still lacks consistent sponsorship depth. There are some women who have sponsorships, but you don't really hear about it because it's not that many. Caroline, she's out there in the UK. She has Adidas, but you just don't really hear about many female boxers with any kind of sponsorships. No media. Where are the media investments? You know what I mean? Women's boxing still lacks large fighter pools with mainstream recognition and stable superstar infrastructure. It's crazy. There's still a lot of people who still don't know who Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor are. And those are two of probably outside of Laila. Ann Wolf is a big name, but really, Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, those are two of probably the biggest names right now. And Claressa's name is up there. So when a fighter finally becomes highly visible, that attention becomes emotionally and financially valuable. So the result is every disagreement feels amplified, every criticism feels personal, and every viral moment becomes survival. And I'm starting to see more people come out to defend Claressa. And they feel every day she's trying to protect her legacy, her relevance and market position. not just her reputation. And I'm surprised to hear that. Even Tim Bradley came out here saying something. I was like, okay, so Tim has an opinion. But I'm going to tell you what the bigger problem is. And it seemed to be like I may be one of the only ones talking about it. When I say women's boxing is being destroyed, I'm not talking about all the women are making poor choices. No. What I'm talking about is how I'm listening to fans. And I've talked to 5 different world champions. 5 of them, right? And I ain't gonna say who they are. But I'll tell you what, they're becoming frustrated and disappointed. You know what I'm saying? Because they're like, man, so many of us, well, they actually said, they told me all of us who aren't getting the shine right now, we're disciplined, we're respectful, we're hardworking women, we grind day in, day out, and we don't have any major sponsorships, we don't have the huge social followings, we don't have the viral attention. And this is making it even more difficult for us to try to get that hood. And I just got quiet and listened. And you know what? I said, you know what? It's unfortunate. Because those fighters, they cannot overshadow the negativity created when the bigger names dominate headlines with controversy. And that creates an unfair situation where the actions of a few highly visible stars shape public perception on the entire sport. And that's what's happened here. You know what I'm saying? It's an unfair situation for all the female fighters right now. A few highly visible stars have shaped public perception of the entire sport. Remember, it's about perception. And this is one of the hardest realities in women's boxing right now. See, people got to be able to take the emotion out of this and look at it for what it is. It's perception. How about this? For those who think, no, that's not right, you're not right. Okay, we just don't agree. How many of y'all grew up in an area where you may have a family over here where the father is known for acting a kind of way, or the mother is known for acting a kind of way, or the kids are known for acting a kind of way? And what your mother and father tell you, or what you and your friends say, man, stay away from them people, and I don't associate with them, or not this, right? They don't just tell you about the one person, it's the whole family, the whole unit, that whole house. Any and everyone who go to that house and come out that house, who are around those people, stay the fuck away from them, right? There's no difference here. This is my opinion when it comes to women's boxing. The entire sport, you know what I'm saying, is being affected. And I can see where people are big time investors and stuff like, nah, man, let's just stay away from that till they clean up their stuff over there. But hey, it's one of the hardest realities of women's boxing right now, and it hurts the business side of women's boxing. You know what I'm saying? The business reality is brutal. Women's boxing is still fighting for long-term sponsor trust, consistent television investment, and mainstream commercial confidence. People don't understand this. So I understand when people come out on the channel and they comment. That's why I do these videos. You know, I hope people listen to what I'm saying to them. I do my research, man, to try to break this shit down, because I see things like a lot of you. I see things through a different lens. Everyone has a different perspective, but this is what you're hearing is what I think about. That's why I do the research, and then I come and deliver my talking points. But long-term sponsor trust, they still don't have that. Mainstream commercial confidence, they don't have that. You know, unlike men's boxing, where sponsors often continue investing despite controversy because the infrastructure is already massive, women's boxing remains in a more fragile growth phase. Jake Paul and MVP is doing an amazing thing. Even, I got to be real, Demetrius Salita has quite a few women signed over there, so he's doing his part. You know what I mean? They're leading the charge, investing in women. But the public drama can have larger consequences. When sponsors see lawsuits, chaos, public hostility, nonstop controversy, some may decide the sport feels too unstable or risky to invest in heavily. And that hurts everybody. Prospects, contenders, champions, future stars. And this is why the success of big names matters so much. Look at Floyd Mayweather. Yeah, he was a villain role, but he was likable. The man increased fighter pay just because of his success. Everybody started getting paid big time money because of Floyd. And those before him, because of their success, they made it possible for Floyd to do what he did. But in women's boxing, the top stars carry enormous responsibility whether they want it or not. And I don't think some understand the responsibility that they carry. That's why I should get involved in being like a boxing consultant, man. I just have ideas, but I don't know if I got the time for all that. But I'll tell you what, man. The biggest names succeed. When the biggest names succeed, everybody benefits. It's like organizational dynamics, man. The people at the top, the leadership, when they're getting it right, everybody benefits, man. Attention increases, sponsorship grows, viewership rises, and younger fighters gain opportunities. I'm telling you, I saw how this shit works in organizations, man. When things are going great, everybody wants to be down with that. They want to be attached to that. What I'm telling you now is not my opinion. I've seen how it works. I've been part of those organizations. But I also see how you have a major inspection come in or somebody's doing something in your organization and then it gets a dark cloud cast over there. Oh, that's going on over there? Yeah. That unit or that organization or that company or that this. I'm telling you, man, I've lived this shit. I've seen where everybody benefits and I see where all of a sudden everybody struggles. The attention increases and then for the right reason, then it increases for the wrong reason. You know what I mean? I've seen that. Business opportunities grow, and then they be taken away when it comes to contracts, government contracts. So I ain't making this shit up. I ain't shooting from the hip. But I'll tell you this, when the biggest names become consumed by negativity and public conflict, everybody feels the damage too. That's the difficult reality of smaller developing sports. And women's boxing is growing, and it's growing rapidly, but it's still kind of small and fragile. You see, the ecosystem is interconnected. So anyway, man, I'm about to go take a ride. But this entire situation reveals something deeper than simple internet drama. Women's boxing is currently balancing authenticity. I think they're balancing the aggression, business growth, social media culture, and the pressure of fighting for mainstream respect. Some fans see Claressa as unfairly criticized for behaving and just being herself. But they also say she's being unfairly criticized for behavior normalized in male boxing. Others believe she's crossed the line, and that damaged both her image and the sport itself, and people need to stop making excuses for her. This is what she chose. Now look at where she's at. So if they feel there's she's underneath a spotlight or she's being targeted, then she needs to blame herself. There needs to be accountability. Don't come out here blaming everyone else. Content creators, other boxers, She needs to look at herself in the mirror. But then there are fans who believe Alycia contributed to the chaos. Others believe she became unfairly caught in the escalation. Some feel there's a lot of jealousy there from Claressa towards Alycia. I heard someone say they felt Alycia is jealous of Claressa. Some see Laila as a victim of unnecessary targeting. Others see unresolved competitive frustration from Claressa. And I hear everybody. Remember, I don't agree or disagree necessarily. I just like to listen because the shit's interesting to me. But the biggest concern many fans share is this. Women's boxing deserves to be discussed for greatness more often than drama. And that's why I did the live last night. When is this going to end? Who's going to get involved here? Oprah, Farrakhan, Obama? Yeah, I make fun with some of the names, but I'm being serious. Who's going to get involved and help to redirect this shit? Because I'm not seeing anybody capitalizing off the drama. If they were capitalizing and making $5 million and this, if there was a bunch of money being generated, I'd be like, well, hold on a second. They need to stop and look at this. It's working, but it's not working. And I'm being real. This shit ain't working to me. Now, if I'm wrong, somebody tell me something and leave it in the comments. Because I'm not seeing how any of this shit is working for the good or the betterment of female boxing. Because when I talk to those 5 champions, I listened to them, and they were frustrated. Now remember this. So when I see, there's a lot of things people don't know. Like when I say certain things, man, I've already talked to people. There are people who call into our show. There are champions who call into our show. And the audience doesn't know who they are. I know who they are. And that's why when certain callers call in, stop and listen. You can tell the difference, man. If you stop and pay attention, you'll tell the difference. The conversation. They're not just a normal casual fan or a regular boxing fan. You can tell. They just know too much. So you know that there's somebody very close to the sport. But I'll just say this right here, man. Women's boxing deserves to be discussed for things other than drama, man. Because behind all the headlines are elite athletes working incredibly hard to elevate the sport permanently. And it's unfortunate that they're being overshadowed. But many fans hope the future conversation shifts back toward the fights, accomplishments, and talent that help women's boxing grow in the first place. And I hope so too. I'm going to be real with you. So anyway, the questions were, is women's boxing being ruined? And I put that X there for a reason. Is Big GWOAT targeted, or all the women affected? Female fighters unfairly affected by the drama? Are the content creators wrong? Y'all leave y'all opinions in the comments. Y'all in the breeze.